Now I'm gonna talk about why Final Fantasy VII is only the best on the original PS1 or the PS1 version of the game. Mainly because the PC port or the console remasters of the original Final Fantasy VII game has been butchered in lots of ways, or at least in ways that makes the visuals worse than it should be. I can give an example on this picture here. Um, if you see the upper picture, that's the PlayStation 1 Cloud. That's the main character. You can see how his eyes are more white, and overall, he doesn't have a mouth. Uh, I don't think any character in the PS1 has a mouth. That makes them look more mysterious to the limitations they had on the PlayStation 1. But you also noticed uh, just how better it feels with that he doesn't have a mouth in a sense because it adds more mysterious to this character, and I can promise you there's a part later in the game where he actually has a frown. I'm not kidding. In the PC port or the remaster console versions, it's I think it looks very bad on the game itself in terms of the visual design. And if you can see the menu here, this is actually from the PC one. It says it even on the picture that I found. Um, I'm gonna find a better picture. But you see that Cloud looks sad here. The other are fine though. The picture of the avatars of the other characters, they are okay on the console remasters or PC port. The only issue I have is Cloud. And now I'm gonna show you another picture where he is shown a little bit differently. Wait a second. Um, yeah, here it is. You can see that he is basically looking. It looks like Cloud is having more good time here. If you see the face of the avatar, so that's my main problem. It's like I don't know who designed the port or the console remaster, but it's like they wanted to make him look as boring or as sad as possible in a sense. I don't know why they decided that will make the character look cool. It looks way better in the PS1, I think. So I don't get why Square decided to make him look way worse than he was in a sense. But yeah, that's at least on that aspect of it. And now I'm going to show you another aspect when you go to the gameplay. If you see here, this is the PC port or console remaster. You notice the shadow on the character is grayish round, and it doesn't really blend well with the environment or the game or the limitations that it was back then. That kind of had to do the best it could in a sense with the graphics, and it looks very fake in comparison. I'm gonna show you this another picture here. You see here, you can see how the shadow blends more with the overall environment. It's definitely a limitation, so the graphics can only be as good as it is, but it still looks better. I mean, if you can see the overall shadows and how it blends more with the environment. So I just think that if you are gonna play Final Fantasy VII, I would at least the original game. I would never play the PC or the console remasters of the original Final Fantasy VII that is from PS1. I would get, in my view, I would get just a PlayStation 1 version of the game. Get an emulator on PC, or if you have a PlayStation 1, 2, or 3, then just play it that way. Just get a console that supports the original game, or just get the CD of the PlayStation 1 and have an emulator. That's how I would play it. I would not uh, play. I will not buy it from Steam. That has the bad version too. So that's my view on it. I guess I can talk a little bit of Final Fantasy VIII though, because that's the weird thing is that was actually ported well to Steam, because it has the graphics is very identical to the PlayStation One. So, and I mean, of course, the Final Fantasy VIII, the original on Steam, not the remastered. That one is bad because they changed the. Basically, I don't like how Cloud. I mean Squall. I mean, I like how Squall here in a sense doesn't look the same as it does in the CGI. So it looks like a completely different character, and there's lots of trouble too. I've heard like you can't get widescreen. I'm pretty sure if that doesn't. I'm pretty sure if that isn't in the the remaster. I'm pretty sure someone has modded, but at least the point is though is the original Final Fantasy VIII on Steam. It has it pretty much just has you all covered. The only nitpick I've heard though is that it has uh, MIDI files, sound files on certain things. That's the only bad thing. It's perfect outside that. So it's kind of weird how they messed up Final Fantasy VII port. Yet Final Fantasy VIII is almost perfect. At least the original one, not the remaster one, which I think they screwed up in a lot of ways. But that's just my opinion on it. If you want to play the best experience of the original game, just get a PS1 version of the game. Don't get the ports of this game because they are really bad. I promise you. I've tried them; they are not good. But the remake, I heard mixed reviews on that one for Fantasy Seven remake. I think they one thing they did really good though is they managed to capture the character that the PS1 did, like in terms of voices and overall personality and like even Cloud, he was very stiff in Advent Children. I thought at least, even though it's a cool movie, the fights and all. But yeah, he's more a little bit more. He isn't utterly serious. I mean, I know that he's a serious character, but he isn't like stiff or anything. He can emote like a normal person in a sense, and make some quirks here and there. And I still think he's somewhat stiff a little bit in the remake, but it's as good as as it gets. I think the voice is good. I think if I had to settle with a character that represents him the best, I think the remake is probably the best as it is. So I'm happy with that. And even the other characters is good. Like Tifa, I think matches the PS1 counterpart. I was skeptical at first when I heard the voices, but after I saw the game, it was actually pretty good. And Aeris was probably the best improvement because they all had like a monotone voice in the Adam Children movie, and it didn't really capture the PS1 counterpart. But in a sense, thanks to the remake now, they kind of have made Adam Children age well in a sense because now you can kind of think of that world as a post-traumatic stress disorder or something. So in terms of character design, I think they pretty much matched it up pretty well in the remake. So that's a very good job. At least the people who made the remake. Even Zack was better, and people think that the Crisis Core was good. I think it looks terrible, honestly, because Zack in that one looks like a Kingdom Hearts clone, while in the remake he actually looks like the artwork of the character, and even sounds more like how he should sound like in the PS1 original, because he really does look like a metal rocker in the artwork, and he's described as a womanizer in by Ares in Final Fantasy VII PS1 game. So yeah, I think that's how it should be. I think they did really good there. So but overall though, the gameplay in the remake of Final Fantasy VII, that's where it gets like mixed. Some wish it could be more turn based, like the way that Final Fantasy is known, for instance. Well, others don't mind though. Some are okay with the more modernized RPG elements, but it doesn't really follow the formula that 1 to 12 or 1 to 13 did in a sense. Although 13 had its problems too, which think they fixed in Lighting Returns. But basically, I think they probably are going more modernized in this one, and some have been a little bit mixed by that reception at least. But in terms of presentation, it at least does somewhat well on that at least. And one thing I do disagree on is that it's like a sequel. It's not a sequel. They kind of troll people a little bit with the whole whispers thing, and that's kind of to troll the player to think that the plot is gonna go anywhere outside it. Just some input, and it's also in Norse mythology. There's this idea that fate is very important. So it does fit the world of Midgard since it kind of has that name to it. It's Norse for Middle Earth in a sense, uh, or it's more like the world that we live in a sense. I think that's what it means. But but yeah, point is though it's not a sequel. I just wanna dispute that fact. They surely added some quirks here and there. I can see that in the difference between the seven and the remake in a sense. Um, but yeah, in terms of story, it looks pretty okay. But I'm gonna try it on Xbox next year when I get it. But thank you for listening, and bye.